Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Keitzer. I'm an instructor here at Sunset Learning. I specialize in the contact center side of the house, specifically contact center enterprise, although I've been teaching various forms of Cisco curriculum since about 1998, including routing and switching, unified communications, basic telephony, etc., etc. So we feel pretty prepared to do a great job for you if you come to us for some training, and we'd like to explain today a little bit about our curriculum that we offer, help to make you less confused about what you might be looking at. On the diagram on the board here, I've got a couple of diagrams drawn out for our contact center offerings. Contact center enterprise specifically is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Really, contact center enterprise you could logically break out and say effectively comes in two solutions. Those of you that might be using IP/IVR as an IVR-based solution for contact center enterprise, and maybe the rest of you that are using Cbpi as an IVR component for contact center enterprise. Our goal is to kind of talk to you about the two chunks of curriculum that go with either sides of those house. We'll also mention to you that some of you might be running both of those, so we'll talk about that at some point in time. We'll also ultimately talk about those of you that might not be using an all Cisco solution. You might be using Cbpi, by example, in a legacy environment. Perhaps you're still using ICM in a legacy environment. So we'll mention that to you as well along the way. Back to Unified Contact Center Enterprise, effectively an all Cisco solution. Need to talk to you about the various courses that we offer here. The course I'm going to start off with is our Voice Fundamentals course. A course by the name of CVFCC, Cisco Voice Fundamentals for the Contact Center. We'd encourage you to read up on the official outline as far as the exact content that you're going to see in there. But that course is really developed out of really a necessity we see in the contact center. Maybe people come to learn Cbpi or ICM. Maybe you don't have quite the background that you might need to be successful in things like Communications Manager and Voice Gateway. So that's where I'm going to start off with that. It should be noted that that Voice Fundamentals course I'm going to talk about, applicable both to those people who might be running Contact Center Enterprise over here with IP/IVR, as well as with Cbpi, and a brief mention to Contact Center Express as well. Certainly an applicable course for those of you maybe tuning in, but on the Express side of the house. So that Voice Fundamentals, what exactly does it cover? What I've got depicted here, diagrams that you're likely to come in contact with if you come to our training. Kind of a big picture breakout of the two solutions. On the right-hand side, I've got Cbpi and all the componentry goes along with it. Left-hand side, same thing except for with IP/IVR. This Voice Fundamentals course, really at the heart of both of these equations, what you see is a customer calling in this case through some kind of a carrier-based network. Carrier's job is to deliver that call inbound to you, the customer of the solution, of course on an ingress gateway, and then from there, depending on the solution, we've got to talk to various components in the mix of things. So that Voice Fundamentals course really is geared toward, on either the IP/IVR side or the Cbpi side, is really kind of a geared focus specifically with talking about all things Voice Gateway as well as all things Communications Manager. And we actually see that that course kind of fits in very nicely for both sides of the house. Hopefully you can see that color okay. But our goal with that Voice Fundamentals course is to make you, the learner, certainly more knowledgeable about what's happening inbound on a voice gateway. You might have traditional TDM trunks inbound from the carrier. You might use some kind of SIP trunk inbound to your particular enterprise environment. And from there, those calls need to progress to different components across the solution, either Cbpi, maybe Call Manager in the case of IP/IVR. And one of our goals in this class is to spend less time focused on, you might say, features that you might see in a Communications Manager back office environment, and really more on the dial plan. So when a call comes into a gateway, we've got to get that call, by example, sent to Communications Manager for IP/IVR. How might we do that? We might use either SIP, H323, or NGCP as a call control protocol to progress that call further. Over here on the Cbpi side, even though Call Manager is kind of the last device that we talk to in sequence of a call flow, it's still important to understand the same things. We've got to communicate with a bunch of devices, in this case using either SIP or H323. So the focus of the Voice Fundamentals course is really just a focused course on voice gateways, Communications Manager. The last day of that course, of course, we're going to kind of break this diagram out, give you an overview of what you'd expect to find if you come back for one of our admin courses on the Cbpi side, or on the IPIVR side. So again, please take a look at the outline that we provided for you, easily accessible, and you'll get some more detailed information on that Voice Fundamentals course. Ideally, what we'd like you to have before you come to any of our really further along the line contact center offerings is we'd really like you to have a background, at least a little bit on voice gateways and communications managers. So that's what that Voice Fundamentals course will help you out with. Of course, we offer other offerings that are, we offer 2 one-week courses on communications manager. We offer C-Voice for voice gateways. So this is kind of in a 1-week compressed format. Gets down to the soup and nuts of exactly what's going on with the dial plan of the environment. So that or some equivalent experience would set you up nicely for coming back to take now one of our official Sunset Contact Center Enterprise courses. I'm going to start over here on the CBP side of the house. On the CBP side of the house, we've talked about voice fundamentals. We've got a course that we've built at Sunset Learning. We'll talk to you about why that is here in 1 second. A course called Debucci. Another course called ACCE with CBP, and basically anything that starts with a D, you can kind of remember that's a deployment course. Anything that starts with an A, usually an admin course. We've got the off-the-shelf Cisco offering of CBPI, that's an implementation course. We'll also talk to you about reporting. Just going to take a second here, even though I started off talking about CBP, just to kind of explain to you that really these tracks are very similar on the CBP side of the house as they are on the IPIVR side of the house. If we look over here on the IPIVR side of the house, we've also got a course called Ducci, another course called ACCI. That's a deploying course and an admin course, but on the IPIVR side. And really the main difference here from your perspective is this deploy course and admin course that are off-the-shelf courses from Cisco. Those are great courses, but all they focus on is using IPIVR over here as a routing client. So those of you that have CBP as a routing client, you'd only really get half the picture over here if you actually took the off-the-shelf Cisco offering. So really what we've done, everything over here kind of outlined in a blue star, really indicates to you these are customized Cisco courses that we at Sunset Learning have developed. We're a partner and a developer partner with Cisco, so we have liberty to make our own courses up. And really what we've done with our deployment courses and our admin courses on the CBP side is, of course, combine some of the good information from the off-the-shelf courseware material, as well as, by example, over here, information from the Cbpi courseware material. So those of you that are probably more engineer hands-on, I've got to touch the servers, I've got to actually go out and deploy them, I've got to actually install a router and a logger and a PG. I'm going to be responsible for installing, by example, agent PGs or admin workstations or servers or things like that. Really that's more of what, generally speaking, all the deployment courses are for. So in the deployment courses you're going to spend certainly more hands-on time physically installing componentry. Probably the goal there with generally the deployment courses, more hands-on with the equipment, installing things, configuring things, getting things up to speed and functional. Ideally, probably less time spent scripting. The time we spend scripting in the deployment courses is really going to be time spent scripting just to prove that all of our equipment works, by example. On the other hand, if you come back to the admin courses, either the admin ACCE with CBP, or of course over here the admin UCCE, which is an IPIVR based course, those I would really say are really more focused on those of you who are responsible for day 2 support of a customer. You might be the customer, you might be an integration partner tasked with actually helping a customer out with their existing day-to-day activities, adds, moves, and changes. And generally speaking, that's what the admin courses are more focused on. Of course, we'd encourage you to go out there and take a look at our outlines. If you've got any questions, please ask one of your sales representatives for further information on what's going on there. So that kind of covers for you the deployment courses on both sides. Again, if you want hands-on, work on some equipment, put it together, that's what you're after. Admin course is really more of a day 2 support type course. Certainly some overlap between those courses. You're going to get some good things if you come back to take all those courses, we would feel. And last but not least over here, as far as just regular courses off the shelf, we've got also a Cbpi course. Now we were at Sunset helped to develop the version 3, the version 4, and the version 7X training material for CBP. We weren't involved in the version 8X training material, but it's a great course. Great information out there. We certainly offer that as well. Generally speaking, the main difference between that Cbpi course and maybe other offerings that we have, that Cbpi course really meant to be for integration partners that are going to be deploying CBP. We certainly in that course talk more about sizing, equipment, calls per second, things of that nature. Certainly, though, a good amount of overlap in some of our other courses as well as far as some of the content that you're going to see. But ideally kind of more geared and focused towards integration partners than maybe day 2 support customers. But again, a lot of good information in both courses. So again, if I could maybe draw some more blue boxes around here and tell you about why you might take one versus another. For the most part, the Cbpi course, maybe the admin or the deploying course, we're again hoping you've got some general background on Cisco telephony, and certainly taking a SIP-T or a voice fundamentals course is going to give you that. From there, if we talk about deploying, by example, UCC on either side, this is really where we're going to get into all of the rest of the componentry, talk to you about how all of these devices actually communicate with each other. We'd certainly in class go over details about all these different call control protocols that we use, not only describing how they work, but really ultimately why is this important to me, right? Why is it important I know, by example, what DNP is? So that's what we're going to try to hopefully help you out with if you come to our course. Same thing over here on the IP/IVR side. If you take one of the deploying or admin courses, that's of course going to fill in the rest of the picture as far as how all this works out. And again, why the voice fundamentals? Well, those of you maybe coming from a traditional Cisco voice background would recognize that voice gateways and call manager, communications manager, certainly an intricate part of both of these solutions. It's also a pretty logical starting point where maybe some of you are coming from. You might have just a back office telephony background whereby DID calls, direct calls, come into gateways and through call manager and then to just people. We're extending this logical functionality to show you the enterprise approach of that process. Before I talk about the reporting piece, I'm just going to swing over here to the right-hand side briefly and say that this set of components, this suite of products out here, which really comprise ICM and CBP, Communications Manager, gateways, or IP/IVR on that side of the house, certainly a model that maybe all of you don't adhere to. Some of you might actually still be using ICM, which keep in mind has been renamed to Contact Center Enterprise at some particular version. But the old school term ICM over here, you might certainly be using that still in a mixed environment of Aspect and Avaya or Nortel legacy solutions out there. Keep in mind that this is kind of the world at which we came from. We've got familiarity with this. We speak Avaya speak and Nortel speak. So if that's the world that you're still in, please get a hold of us and we can certainly do some customization of some content for you. And also really talk about some of those things where you might actually be coming from. That's one important thing to mention here is that if you came from that world, the legacy world, which probably most of you did, we've got a background in that legacy world, so when we start talking to you about CBP and IP/IVR, we feel like we don't have to re-educate you on the whole process. We just have to tell you what the new terms mean and relate that to your particular world. So I don't feel that you're coming from that world or still have that world that we can't help you out. We certainly can. Last thing I'd like to talk to you about is the reporting solution that kind of goes or spans across all of these environments, really. The newest, latest, greatest reporting solution in the bag of tools out here is a product called CUIC, Cisco Unified Intelligence Center. There's a off-the-shelf class called DUIC, Deploying Unified Intelligence Center, that speaks to this new product. By the way, all of our components out here are the latest and greatest version of 8X that you're likely to encounter. We can also talk to you about other versions as well. But CUIC, replacement for WebView, and ultimately CUIS is the reporting tool that you would use across these enterprise solutions. And what we've done at Sunset Learning is we've taken that 3-day off-the-shelf course and we've augmented it. We've made some different changes to that course. That is the reporting course. It's a 3-day course. But the off-the-shelf course really only talks to you about how CUIC ties over here to ICM from a reporting solution on both sides. And what we've done with our course is we not only tie into ICM, we're also going to tie in up here to our CBP reporting server for that particular course. We're we're also going to spend a reasonable amount of time in that course actually customizing some of the reports that you're likely to see. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of exactly what courses might be applicable to you. We'd like to see you come to some training, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get a hold of us. So thanks for your time.